Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this February 27th version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. All of our content can be found at EOA.network. That takes you to a link tree where you can find our Facebook and YouTube and our Roku channel, our website, and then also where all of our content lands on different podcasts. All of that information is available there. Here in just a little bit, we have two special guests at the same time. It's going to be awesome. Dr. Kelly Ryan from EOU and LeGrand School Superintendent George Mendoza. How are you, man?
What's up? I'm still trying to. It's still weird looking and seeing me on this side.
Yeah, I know.
It's really weird. Like I keep wanting to find me on the right, and I'm on the left. I don't know. It's gonna take a little getting used to.
Yeah. So we, as you may or may not have known, we adjusted our set recently, and primarily for the guests, because the guests have kind of been between Kyle and I, and so then they kind of have to look back and forth, and of course I'm better looking, and so they spend more time looking at me. Yeah. And so he was feeling bad about that, and so now they can kind of look at both of us at the same time. And anyhow, give us a wide shot, Bennett, real quick, of the set, and how about that, the upper God shot. Anyhow, so you can see it's a little bit more like a little living room. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and we changed the slats too.
Yeah, we did.
You didn't notice, which just meant flipping them around.
Yeah,
It's like the changing on the go.
yeah, that's right.
Not bad though.
Yeah.
Not
Well,
bad.
you want to do sports?
Let's do it. Let's
All right.
get this out of here quick today. AM Sports Report brought to you by Hobby Habit right here in LeGrand. They're having their Super Spring Sale on Traxxas RC cars. So get down there and check them out. I mean, I'm going to keep telling you about these RC cars. They're cool. They go 70 miles an hour. And right now you get a free battery and a charger when you buy select models. So get down to Hobby Habit just for the fun of it. Both EOU basketball teams are done for the season. There's still like a very slim chance that one could get a national bid, but pretty much no. I mean, the men, they did what EOU men's basketball has done all year. They go down to Southern, they have a 10, 12-point lead with 6 minutes to go, and they lose by 10. And I feel like I talked with head coach Chris Kemp last night at the women's game, and they kind of did that all year. Like it was almost part of their identity this year, and I think part of that is just not having like a really firm leader on the court, and that's gonna be it's gonna be something that he has to attack in recruitment this year, is finding somebody that's gonna really lead that team. And then the women last night against C of I, they just can't get over that C of I bug. They got the same thing that was going on with football before we beat them this year. They could all 3 times this year. They couldn't beat C of I. And first round of the tournament, we're the higher seed. They come into our house and upset us. And hopefully that changes in the next year, or two, as well as, Angie looks to get her team back to the national tournament. Wrestling starts today. High school, the state tournament. How exciting! My predictions: LeGrand's going to finish 4th for the boys. That's what I'm going to say right now. It's a little bit outside of the norm, but 4th is good. I'm hoping to see 3 state champions from the boys, and then on the other side, the girls they're gonna dominate. I mean, they're gonna win by 45, 50 points easily and bring home their 2nd state championship. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say I want 3 state championships individual for the girls too, and I think it's possible. And of the girls that are going there, I think 3 of them can win this all, and they're definitely going to win it as a team. The girls basketball team at the high school, man, they looked good against Baker. We talked about that on Tuesday. Their next game is going to be a home game, and it's going to be on the 7th. It'll be at 6 o'clock, I believe, at the high school, and it's still up in the air on who they're playing yet, but tentatively, if we played based on the rankings right now, we're playing Crook County. So that can change between now and then, but as of right now, it looks like Crook County at home on March 7th. And then win that, and we're at the final site in the quarterfinals at Forest Grove High School. So that's super exciting for the girls basketball team. Spring sports are just getting ready to roll. I released my baseball preview for EOU yesterday with a couple of EOU baseball players. Great interviews, great kids, and we're looking forward to like moving into spring. And I love softball. I love baseball. I'm ready to be outside. AM Sports Report brought to you by Hobby Habit, just for the fun of it.
Good stuff, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, hey, let's take a look at the weather cam. We got it going again, and
man, it's sunny out there.
Yeah.
I love it.
Isn't it pretty?
It gives me false.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you know we're gonna get snow.
I know.
Dumped on here still.
I hate it.
Yeah. Let's take a look at that graphic, Bennett. So 51 today. Looks like it's going to be a little windy. 27 miles an hour today. 5%.
56 on tomorrow and Saturday.
Yeah.
EOU baseball games this weekend too. On Saturday and Sunday at Optimist. I forgot to say that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and it's perfect weather for it. Oh, I'm going to be out there.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a beautiful weekend. Maybe a chance of some weather on Sunday, but Friday and Saturday should be good. I have an idea we'll probably be working on yard or leaves, or
Oh, fun.
Tanya's already got something planned, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, hey, we're going to take a break real quick. We'll be back in just a minute with Dr. Kelly Ryan and George Mendoza.
Eastern Oregon is full of interesting people, with interesting minds and interesting things to say. Here at EO Live, we're committed to connecting you to these intriguing people with EO Talks. We let our special guests share their ideas and life experiences with deep, open, engaging, and inquisitive conversations. You'll also be informed in depth on some of the most recent and relevant events, issues, and more. EO Talks on EO Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku. Here in Eastern Oregon, we're blessed to live in such a wonderful area, and though it may seem mild-mannered, there's actually quite a lot that goes on in this area. And apparently, there's two dinguses who happen to be here that are actually crazy enough to get up at the crack of dawn to talk about it. Tune into AM Live on EOA with Brent and Doddsy, featuring special guests, weather, sports, news, and more, every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m., only on EOA Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon. Now on Roku.
That's what that's. All right, we're back.
We are.
Dr. Kelly Ryan. Dr. George Mendoza?
No doctor.
Not doctor?
Just George.
Okay.
George.
Gentleman George.
George. Dr. Kelly Ryan and George. Yeah. No, hey, thank you guys. What a pleasure to have both of you at the same time, you know, and to be able to talk about the state of education in Union County in Eastern Oregon. Yeah, what a cool opportunity. So, I guess let's just start with. I'll start with you, George. Tell me what's the news? What's the news in LeGrand School District? Is there anything you want to update us about?
I would just say, you know, there's always things going on. Dodzy does a great job of talking about sports, so that's always of interest to me. I love our kids doing well in sports and participating at a high
They're
level.
always at the games.
So I love that. We had about a 90%, 92% graduation rate, 96% completer rate. So those are things that we celebrate, systems wide, about making sure that we can ensure that kids get through. So to me, knowing who they are, knowing their situation, applying resource and strategy if they're not doing well, and then getting them to graduate is a big deal. So I'm always happy when I see those results. There's a lot of stuff going on with the state with accountability, and what's accountability going to look like in the future. So kind of helping people to understand a little bit more about that. There's things going on with our world with democracy, so helping people a little bit to understand some of that. We don't know all the answers, or we don't know all the things, but letting people know we're going to keep moving forward. We're going to keep looking at our strategic plan. We're going to keep looking at our goals. We're going to keep working on those things. And we're not planning to lay off any staff or do any changes at this time. We're just going to keep going till we know more. So just that, looking out for people.
Yeah.
This is kind of a normal thing, HR type things, making sure financially we're okay. All the day-to-day things that superintendents do.
Yeah, good. All right. And Kelly, what's
Well, lots
new in the EOU world? Yeah.
Lots going on. I think I was last here maybe after fall started, and so as you know, our enrollment grew in fall and it continued to grow in winter, so that's really promising. And most important to us is we're really focusing on student success right now, and our retention rate grew again this year, and that's just so important to who we are as a campus right now, really focusing on our students coming to campus, feeling supported, our online students being able to find the tools and resources that they need. We're still focused on that campus vitality campaign that I shared with you a few times here. We're also doing really neat stuff related to our political world as well, making sure that our students are involved in civic education in addition to just engaging at the university in general. We started a new project called the American Democracy Project that pairs students to talk with people across the nation about a whole bunch of issues. And what they find out is that Americans have so much in common. I mean, we really do. We have so much in common, and it's been really neat to hear about their experiences in this work and many of the others at the university.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, and Kyle and I have laughed several, because last time we just had it was a wonderful conversation that we had. And the quote that stuck out, in fact, we used it in a reel, is, "I was so glad I was here to give you all a history education this morning," or something. Set you guys straight. Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Well, I was glad that you listened to my words of encouragement not to talk poorly about history or English this morning. You were very well behaved.
Hey, I'm a historian when it comes to sports.
That's true. You're creating records.
Yeah. I don't talk about history because it's in the past.
Oh, here we go. All right, let's stay on target. It's like throwing a bone out there for Kelly to jump.
True.
Yeah.
I will pick it up.
Yeah, yes, you will. So you guys, George, let's spend some time talking about how you guys work together, which is unique for you both being here today. So George, you're the board chair of the EOU Board of Directors? Is that, I don't know, help
Board
me.
of Trustees.
Thank you. Yeah. So what is that? How did that happen?
Oh, I'd say, I could give you a really long answer, and I'll just say, love of EOU for me brought me to the board. I had a great experience as a student, as an athlete at EOU. When the board was created in the inception period, this is about 12 years ago, I was asked to be on the Board of Trustees, and from that time forward, was the chair of the Student and Academic Affairs, on the governance committee, or on the governance side, and then also on the financial side. So I had become fairly strong at understanding our committees and being a part of our board. And then about 3 years ago, I was asked to be the vice chair.
Okay.
And so from that time going forward, vice chair supporting all the other committees and supporting our board chair and supporting our president. And then when Cheryl Martin resigned and I wasn't sure about this clause at the time. I knew that the vice chair becomes the board chair, but I thought it was like a temporary thing until the board would make a vote for the chair. And I had shared with Kelly and others before that I didn't feel like I had the time to be a board chair. I had enough time to help people and love people and look out for things. So I didn't know about me being a board chair for a long time.
Right.
But then it's in the bylaws that basically you take over the term of the president or the board chair that resigned if you're the vice chair. So the reality is I became the board chair through that process. And ultimately, like I love Eastern. I love Eastern Oregon University. I love LeGrand. A lot of the skills that I feel that I got as a human came from this community or came from my experiences from the teachers, professors, the coaches that I worked with at Eastern Oregon University. So the giving back part, or the heart, mind, purpose, passion, alignment, has always been there for me. And when I was asked to be, or when I was called to be the board chair, I knew it was going to be a lot of work. But I love serving. This in EOU. People don't know how much I love EOU, and I love looking out for LeGrand. And I love looking out for our region, and so it's hard work, but it's passionate work, and it's fun and exciting, and I love making things better, making things happen, and I love taking care of our university and working through the president to ensure things go well for EOU.
Cool. So Kelly, help us understand what the Board of Trustees does and how it connects with the different entities of EOU.
Sure. If I may expand upon George
please.
taking over as well, if you don't mind. So I thought I should share, George and I actually, in addition to his role as the vice chair, as two leaders in our community, we were actually meeting for coffee once a month just to talk about synergies between the relationship and the school district. And in addition to that, we share federal and state level concerns and are interested, as he mentioned, in regional growth. And so the nice thing is in addition to the vice chair role, we had already had an established relationship of mutual respect and, frankly, compassion for what the daily kind of struggles are. And so having him as the board chair has been excellent. I just would share that because I think he has an understanding, given his role in education, of the multitude of activities. Right? There's sports, as Kyle shared, but there's also so much of what we do is about the student experience, and he understands the employee experience is important as well. And the board itself is, of course, our governing body. We have many shared governance bodies at the university, but the final one is the board. The board's most important role, as understood most uniformly across the nation, is in regards to the financial performance of the university, making sure that we have eyes on our documents, making sure that we're spending our money wisely, that we're investing not only in now, but in the future of the university. And of course, they also have, as George mentioned, various committees that help us explore other areas. For example, the academic side, the student affairs side, and then the governance side is their committee to how do we want to govern ourselves? What is our relationship with the university? And so, we meet in committee, we meet as the full board, and generally speaking, have really robust conversations about, kind of a critical inquiry into what we're doing, but also making sure they're informed about, what our vision is at present.
All right, cool. Hey, if you're out there and you want to put a question in the comments for either one of our guests, we'll get that to them. So,
can I add something?
Yeah, please.
And I'll just say, as a board chair, the fiduciary side, or the vision, strategic plan side, and then the policy side, big deal, but also looking out for our board and looking out for Kelly, looking out for EOU, but making sure that we are an effective board. So making sure that we have good meetings, making sure that we have a good agenda, making sure that we discuss critical issues and understand those issues, and help to give good thoughts on those issues to help inform or advise EOU, and then making sure people, for me, wrestle with things, but also have good experiences as they wrestle with things. So,
does the board, are they the oversight of the president?
Yes.
yes,
Yeah. So technically, he's your boss.
Yeah.
I wanted to make him uncomfortable.
When
That's
we're
why.
a full board, I'd say when we're a full board, you know, we are her boss. I think of, I'm a colleague collaborator that wants to see EOU succeed and really wants to see Kelly succeed.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. So, yeah, and I didn't tell you this before, but I mean, as we get into this, if you guys want to pitch different responses to each other, you know, you're certainly welcome to do that. Because
absolutely.
Because I want to ask, how is, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the midst of education, both statewide and national, and one of you already referred to that a little bit. You know, I guess let's talk about that. Let's talk about, George, why don't you talk first about, from your position, what, you know, you said right now we're just holding steady.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Do you
So
want
I'll
to
just
expound on
say
that a little bit more? Yeah.
Well, you know, if I'm seeing things on anything with diversity, equity, inclusion, LGBTQ, transgender, and information that's coming to us, we're looking at from any executive order kind of what it says, and then we're also looking at any Oregon laws that we have to follow. And then we're just kind of in this, we're going to make sure that, you know, if it's students being potentially deported or Homeland Security coming to your schools, you're getting what lawyers have to say, and you're getting what the state of Oregon has to say, and then you're just pretty much preparing your school and through your administrators or your secretaries on what would happen if Homeland Security showed up. I'll share that information with Kelly so that Kelly knows how our school district will deal with something, and Kelly would tend to share with me what's happening at the university so that how the university would deal with those types of things. And if it's about title funds or federal funds, us having less funding with you know, Medicare, Medicaid, E-rate, any grants that we get, USDA grants, for her to know, you know, for us, we're still kind of wait and see and processing if there's going to be any change, and how we would react to that. And Kelly does the same for me, where I would know a little bit more. Hers is more financial aid and other things that are given to the university. So situational awareness is usually where I'm at, and then how are you dealing with it? How are you going to figure that out? And us kind of just supporting one another.
So state-wise, what's happening at the state level that might be affecting the local school districts, and specifically LeGrand? Anything going on there?
Well, from a state, just funding, there is no like new rules or new laws that the state's done. You know, for us, it's really how is education going to be funding? Can I still keep my programs and services? Do I have enough money to support our staff at the same level we've been supporting our staff? Are we going to be able to do the plans that we've sought out for with our facilities or other things that we had based on funding and resources? So that side of it, and then now that, you know, there's more with accountability that's going to happen, you know, what does the state test look like in the future? I've been giving a lot of things of, formative assessments, interim assessments. You can collect our grades, you can collect our data. We do beginning of the year, mid-year, and end of the year assessments. We can give you really good responses on how students are growing based on that. Where the state gets a little upset, where they say, you know, we're giving more money than ever, but state test scores are crappier than ever. We're giving more money than ever, but your attendance is not very good. And then you wind up having to tell the state too, like, well, you made opt-out available, and guess what? There's a lot of kids that are wanting to opt out.
Yeah.
You're going to get data that's not accurate data, and you're going to get maybe only 70% or 20%, 30% that take the test, 70% that opt out of the test. Like, you're making systems or rules that create all of these other second order, third order crumble effects. And so you wind up saying that, and then you don't have any accountability for truancy, or we want to make sure that kids attend. We do want to reward and incentivize, build relationship and connection, purpose, meaning, belonging. But we also, when they're not showing up, we need some level of accountability. We need some level of planning or conversations to help people understand the importance of showing up and all the skills that happen when you attend regularly. So we have to give a little, like, you're right, we want to do better, but also you keep making rules that have consequences as well. And if you want, like, I sometimes say this, if you want this, high expectations or high achievement, you need structure, you need order, you need, I'll just say, accountability, you need consistency, you need a plan, and you need to follow a plan. But when you create too loose or non-regulation, and then you want this greatness, but then it's like there's no accountability, there's not enough structure, there's not enough expectation, and there's not enough policy that supports it, you get this result.
Right.
So
Things fall through the cracks.
so I wind up saying those things to different people when it's time,
Right.
like right now. But other,
So, and I know enough about your world, and I presume this to be of the university world, that you used the term buckets of funds quite a bit, and so as you're putting together programs, you're just trying to find funds to cover whatever those programs might be. And there's no one big fund that pays for everything. You're pulling from many different things. And so I mean, I would imagine that as you're reacting to some of this stuff, you're just trying to figure out, well, if we lose this bucket, then are we going to be able to continue that, or can we replace that somewhere else, or anyhow.
yeah, that's exactly how we think, or I think.
Yeah. So, and
I
go
would-
ahead.
I would share things are, and I hope you won't disagree with me, but things are, I would say, a little bit different. Yes, buckets. So the state economic report came out yesterday, and things look okay, but we don't have March unemployment numbers yet, and the changes at the federal level are going to influence that. And so trying to figure out how much money the state even has to spend this year, I think is why we're in this really difficult holding pattern. And I think another thing that George was alluding to was the difference between new regulations coming out from the federal government and Oregon's state laws. And so finding a way to navigate this ground is incredibly difficult, which is why we both are becoming lawyers. In a matter of months, we've both become, it's like I spend more time reading and consulting with lawyers than I have at any other point in my career, because we do want to make sure that we're being compliant. We do want to make sure that our students have excellent experiences. And I think something George and I also have really in common is we both feel a deep and abiding necessity to care for our employees, that they know that every day what they do has value, no matter what is said about them outside. And no matter what happens with funding, we care and we really value what we do. But it is a difficult time. None of us really knows what's happened, and every day it's sort of a different news cycle. And so, trying to stay calm and project hope and compassion and care during this time, it's been exceedingly difficult. And I think both institutions are under a good deal of stress right now, and it's our job as leaders to obviously, again, provide that hope in this moment. The difficulty for higher ed in this moment, again, a little bit different from the school district, is we use, obviously, both of us, federal and state funding, but the state of Oregon, as I've shared with you before, is 46 in the nation in the way that they fund higher education.
Yeah, not good.
So changes in the funding model for your higher ed institutions, particularly your regional institutions, it's existential. So if the state budget precipitously drops and they continue to fund us at a 46% level, and the federal government decides to, for example, reduce the Pell, there's not a bucket I have to pick up and pour into another one.
Yeah.
And so it's really important we understand the stakes, but again, we're finding ways to navigate, again, to comply with the law and communicate with our folks. Later today, I'm having a town hall on campus to talk about these issues, because I don't want people alarmed, and I want them to know we are operating from a space of both care and compliance.
So go for it.
Very well said. And what I've come to realize over time is exactly as Kelly's saying, but I'm just going to say K-12 education, though, is funded in a way that is more protected than higher education. And I'm just going to say it's prioritized by our state, and it creates us having a little more security and thinking of, like, if I have this much resource, I can keep this title program going, or I can offset funds to keep this intervention thing going, even if I lose some federal funds. Where I guess I've felt over time that our EOU or our public universities don't have those types of options as well as a K-12 does.
Yeah.
So is that is that a fear like of you guys as leaders of the education systems here? Like when you look at it federal and state, like say an executive order comes and it kind of goes against what the state says.
Yeah.
Is there a fear of losing money one way or the other there?
Absolutely.
Is that,
Yeah.
that's what this is.
Absolutely. And right now, we're in this kind of interregnum period where we have executive orders or, dear colleague letters, then there's a lawsuit, and then there's a holding pattern, but then what's going to happen when it's in
Right.
trial, And so, yeah, I mean, it very much so is a you want to comply with laws, but at a certain point, we are going to see this hit the head. And because I'm a historian, I'm going to tell you, this is, this is the function in nature of our
Yeah.
republic. It has always been this issue of who ultimately has the authority. Is it your local, state, or government,
Right.
or is it the federal government? And issues like this are going to come to the fore as a result of, I think, and again, this has historically always been the
Right, that's
conversation.
where the
Same
Civil
thing
War
happened
came
with
from.
marijuana.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, the Civil War came out of, you can't tell us what to do.
Yes.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, the federal government. Yeah. So.
And slavery.
Yeah. Right. Well.
Well,
Right.
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. That's,
Let's not forget that.
yeah. Right. Yeah. This seems like a little off topic, but I think both of you have a good gauge. This seems like a weird economic time. This seems, I mean, and it really started in the fall. Could have started last summer. I mean, it's not just with the administration change at the federal level. Have you sensed that? I mean, from a business standpoint, we have.
Yes and no. Like the state of Oregon, whether through COVID or even slightly before, has begun investing in education at a much higher level than it's ever has. In 2010, the state school fund was about $5.7 billion. In 2025, it's projected to be 11.3 or 11.365 billion.
Double.
We've been getting more and more money so that we can have more services. We now have that student investment account for well-rounded education. I now have PE teachers, or I have more counselors, or I have behavior classrooms, or I have mental health and wellness services or behavioral services. I have been able to do much more in this time. So that the concept of scarcity is there, but it's not as strongly there. And even if we get, like we were at 10.2 billion funded, we're projected at 11.365. That's about a 13% increase, plus new money on top of that for our student investment account. In my mind, it's, we're going to have some, federal funding problems, but I have some, I'll just say some juice from my general ed side that I can use to keep things for at least a short amount of time, whether it's 2 years or 1 year. But I have intermediate resources, maybe not long-term resources, but that buys me time to transition, or it buys me time to think through how we're going to do things. And so I am, my sense of urgency is probably different than Kelly's, because I have more resources.
Right.
And I have the ability to figure out some of those things with our resources. But when you have finite resources or less resources, your sense of urgency is much faster, much stronger, and your readiness to benefit for these things increases. So I'm in a position of worry, but I can observe for a little longer.
Well, and I think I'm mostly talking about like from a consumer level,
Yeah.
which would affect you
Yeah.
more, because so if you have students or families of students that just don't have the funds or don't have the disposable income that they've had, that's going to affect higher education.
Absolutely. And I will share, EOU is in a good place in terms of enrollments. We're in our second year of enrollment growth. And And yet, during my first year of my presidency, I had to cut the budget about 8%. And that relates directly to the funding model of the state, right? It ordinarily wouldn't make a ton of sense that you're cutting money even though you're growing at the same time, right? And I think that, to your point about consumers, one of the things that came up in the report about the state's economic condition yesterday is that inflation actually hasn't dropped as quickly as in Oregon as in other states. And our enrollment is doing okay, which suggests that people are still willing to invest in themselves in the future. Where my worry comes is, they're projecting to cut about $330 billion from the federal budget. And this ultimately does mean that, students could be harmed. The most stable loans that our students receive are from the federal government. 41% of our students use those. 38% use the Pell for low-income students. And these laws were put in place to make sure that poverty was not something that we passed down from generation to generation. Higher education institutions ideally take students from our local high schools and help them lift themselves up higher by investing in themselves. And so if those sources become shaky, or even students feel that they might be unstable, they're unlikely to invest in themselves. And so that's the kind of consumer problem that we're looking at. It's something I've spoken with the Higher Education Coordinating Commission in the state, but they're focused, I think, on other alarming issues at the moment.
Right. So the relationship that you have is kind of unique in the sense that you're the Board of Trustees chair. So, I presume, I'm sure that might happen other places, but your funding models are different. You're more secure. Yours is more optional. Anyhow, have you found yourself being able to be an advocate for higher education in a way that you haven't, or do you think you're going to be able to? Because you already have, I'm presuming you already have somewhat of an in because of your position as a superintendent. Can you see yourself being more of an advocate of saying, hey, the state needs to do better for higher education. You're doing good for us. Can you do that?
Yeah. I would say my funny answer would probably be like, no, I'm not going to hurt public education. I want public education to be stable. I actually have a fairly abundant mindset on everything. So to me, we do need to take care of our K through 12 no matter what. But we have to make sure that our higher education is stable as well. And we need to make sure, I sometimes want them, like, I give examples at times in meetings, like 197 school districts create a coalition and do a lot of advocacy to all their reps about their needs. And then they do a really good job of telling the governor and telling the legislature in a lot of messages what they need. And it's done very comprehensively and cohesively, and that seems normal. And then sometimes I think for the universities, you got the Oregon states or the Oregons and our regional institutions, and they, to me, aren't as like together sometimes. I'm not there in those meetings. They do advocate in a way that's well or equal, and where they want more growth to the pie. But I also, and so they do that. But I also think legislature looks at K-12 as like a paramount duty to fund, and I do think they look at higher education as not a paramount duty to fund, and the return on investment part is not as strong. And I definitely do tell, whether it's the governor's office or any rep when they talk to me and I'm in the EOU board chair hat, I'll always advocate for more resources. Eastern Oregon University needs to be solvent. Eastern Oregon, the region, needs to have a university that can help solve a lot of problems, whether it's with our economy or whether it's with our businesses or whether it's generating students that have degrees that can go out to the workforce and have family wage jobs and take care of our communities. We need EOU stabilized, or we need EOU protected, and we need EOU well funded. And I'm able to say those things whenever it's time to a variety of people. And so, yeah, I have no problem advocating for K-12 and advocating for higher education. And I want to see whether it's direct admissions or other things that really increase the enrollment for EOU in particular. I want the state to find ways that make it easier for high school students to want to get to a post-secondary education and create pathways that are simple, and also create the funding that makes it so that EOU is solvent. So they have, I'll just say, great classes, great courses, great staff, great programs, great services. So that's part of how I think, and I know that I communicate that.
May I add too?
Please.
I want to share too. I think one of the things that we've been working on since I arrived is really kind of expanding out those partnerships to try and make sure that it's sort of more of a seamless experience from the high school to EOU. So working not only with George, but Mark Movahel over at IMSED, he's been very warm and welcoming to me and to EOU. Heidi Sipe in Umatilla, I'm meeting with Baker's new superintendent in April. So I think having these kinds of partnerships is really critical. And one of the things I would share about all the superintendents I work with is they do really have a keen understanding, not only about the importance of the relationship. They know the funding model puts us at odds, but they also, really truly want EOU to thrive. And that has meant a lot to me because I don't think maybe in Eastern Oregon we think enough about what in Eastern Oregon is like without a university.
Right.
We find a
not
lot of
good.
time to complain about EOU, but we don't find as much time, I think, to talk about what an incredible asset we are. Not only, our students who work with you and other small businesses to help them thrive, the arts and entertainment, the educational opportunities, the partnerships for economic growth. I mean, we're here and we're doing the work. And I have been really keenly impressed with the K-12 partnership since I arrived. It's been, somewhat seamless.
Yeah.
The jobs that EOU provides for people in
That's
this
right.
community.
The professional development too. I mean, the
it's-
training.
The list goes on and
Yeah.
on.
Every-
I mean, it's
I would just say a lot of us are here, especially our superintendents. There's a lot of educators that are EOU graduates. I'm going to probably, without knowing all the facts, 75 to 80% of the people that are educators in a lot of the Eastern Oregon school districts came from Eastern Oregon University.
coaches too. A lot of the coaches are EOU graduates in this area. A lot of them.
Sure.
There's a lot of love for EOU.
So George, if EOU was in Baker City rather than LeGrand, what? I mean,
Yeah, I'm going to give you a competitive answer.
help brag about EOU and the benefits of it being right here for a minute.
I would say sometimes when people do talk about things in a way that's like LeGrand has EOU is an answer that sometimes I say that's what makes us different. What makes us different from Baker? Baker doesn't have Eastern Oregon University. We have a comprehensive university that serves on any given day 2,000 students or 1,800 students, and then all the staff, over 600 employees, 600 to 700 employees throughout the state that are EOU employees. So we have that. We have what surrounds it. We have all these activities, all these games, all these events that we get to participate in, the cultural events, the sporting events, the musical events, the professional development, the professional learning, the ability to create careers and jobs from that. We also have a community that has a lot of great people that come to LeGrand, that work at the university, that help our school district to be what it is. We have a lot of great parents, we have a lot of great students, we have a lot of great staff that come from EOU. I usually have this, what makes a great town or whatever, a lot of good people, good businesses, good economy, good school system, good safety system, good hospital, a thriving economic community. And EOU gives us that opportunity to have that here more than any other place. And sometimes I tell people this, LeGrand is probably to me, or it's not probably, it is the prettiest town in all of Eastern Oregon.
By far.
It's the most beautiful. It's set up nicely near mountains, but also we have this huge, beautiful valley that we can see. Lots of activities that we can do if we want to explore our natural resources. We got a college. We've got, like I said, events and activities. You've got a beautiful high school with lots of great, in my time, we've been the highest achieving high school in at least academic and athletic activities, to the point that we're typically in the top 3 of the OSAA
Cups. Yep.
So we're one of the best high schools, or at least one of the most competitive high schools that wins the most championships. In my time, we've won 17 state titles. So we're pretty good at stuff.
Yeah.
We've got parents that invest in their kids. We've got coaches that invest in their kids. We've got kids that invest in themselves. We've got systems where people want to be great and they have the opportunity to be great. And I don't say this to everybody, those kinds of things, but that's what LeGrand does, because you have a lot of great people, a lot of great families, a lot of great kids, and a lot of people that work well together to give people the best experience possible. That's what I see all the time. Even though people will say negative stuff, there's a lot for us to be proud of.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Let me add something to the EOU thing. The facilities. The facilities that the public can access.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous facilities. And no other town gets that.
Yeah.
We do.
We get field turf.
Yeah.
Football,
we have
soccer.
great
We have
facilities.
field turf, baseball, softball too. We have nice. We have so many gyms. Lots of gyms if people want to do activities, want to play basketball, want to do futsal, want to do indoor sports. We have a lot of investment where we've updated and modernized things. So our community in many ways is thriving, or is staying up to the times to create quality experiences for children and families, and even for people to participate or be involved in. And people don't always know that kind of stuff, but LeGrand is a lot of things. If you want to do a lot, we have a lot. If you don't want to do that much, we could be that place too, for people.
And I would share, we take that community piece to heart. We have now a food bank on campus that's accessible to the community. The Walk for Life program continues. This really helps, in particular, our elderly population, a safe place to walk in the mornings, no snow, no rocks on the ground. It's safe and it's free. And the students are there helping them work on things like balance, a free cup of coffee, maybe a snack, and just going through some stretching exercises. We really do take our duty to care seriously.
Yeah.
You made one of the conversations you talked about shopping local and how, hey, EOU is local, we should shop there too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that is a super, I don't know why that had never occurred to me, but that is just so good, because here's this wonderful local asset that we have, and if we don't support it locally, then then we're a little bit in trouble.
Yeah, and I remain really committed to that idea. I've had a lot of opportunity to visit with all the high schools, well, not all the high schools, but mostly the leadership in our community. And it's one of the things that comes up sometimes. Sometimes students are interested in pursuing an experience that's maybe further afield. And I think that's okay, but we need to understand that further afield education is going to cost you more. It is likely that you're going to be in a space that maybe you would have been less comfortable with if you chose close to home. Rural students are 14% less likely to go to college, and often it's seen as this kind of insurmountable barrier. And I think having a local school like EOU here with incredible outputs, high quality, really great athletic programs, arts programs, it's a top choice. I think for most of our students who come to EOU, I think they've made the right choice for themselves and they do it at the right time for them. I think the thing that would bother me is I don't mind if someone goes, and wants to explore something outside, but never think of EOU as a second choice, right? Because it is a stellar institution. And most students, over 65% of them, do choose a college within 100 miles of their home because it makes it more affordable, because it's less of a hurdle, and because they'll be able to go home to have a good dinner and some laundry done.
Yeah, it's comfortable.
Right. Well, and recently,
you save a lot of money. It's another.
Yeah. Well, and we had the EOU's music. They did their choral program. Just did their music extravaganza, and
so fun.
We had a couple of students that were on that show, on one of those shows. One of them from Hermiston, and the other one from Milton Freewater, I think, or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, and both of them were so enthused that they had EOU. And I mean, and actually they both talked about how, you know, Peter Wortelman had been kind of a mentor to them or a figure, and they were, even through high school, they were very excited to be able to come into this music department, you know.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I think we don't brag about enough. Our small size is actually what makes us so powerful.
Right.
Our school needs to be solved because it is a rural serving institution.
Yeah.
Most rural students are going to feel overwhelmed and unable to really thrive at a large university. And the kinds of experiences we're able to deliver as a result of our size are incredible. I mean, every single student in his music class actually got to take the stage, be in a performance, sing a line, dance, have their family come out and watch them. That does not happen at other universities. And I can tell you that because I've been to a lot of them. I mean, it is a very unique experience. And of course, Peter is an extraordinary professor on top of that. You know, that goes without saying. But it is a very unique experience for people to expand their horizons.
Yeah, awesome. So let's talk for a minute about the partnerships that happen between EOU and LeGrand School District. Who wants to launch on that?
I'll start, and I had to write it down when I
Okay.
saw this question.
Okay.
And I'm going to just say, again, I don't think that there's another university and school district that have as many partnerships, which is another thing that is the beauty about LeGrand
Okay.
and the experiences that our children have. We have an EOU Lunch Buddies program where the EOU athletes come to our elementary schools and have lunch with students. And they do like character ed type things and just build relationships. We now, this school year and going into the future is our goal, we allow our 4th and 5th grade, or our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade to go to an EOU sporting event. And if they host it during...
Yeah, it's wild.
So for us to be able to have our kids come and watch the girls team or the boys team play basketball, or whether it's going to be volleyball in the future or other sports, that is something that's special. We have EOU reading tutors that come to our school and work with our elementary kids to give them intervention support. So based on science of reading, so we have that. We have the Tiger Mountie Hub, where an EOU staff member is there at least 2 days out of the week to help our kids to understand what it would be like to go to EOU, the degrees, meet professors, understand how to access services, FAFSA, apply for FAFSA, all these types of things going out of the high school. We have a direct admissions program where, you know, if you do a release of information and you figure out that senior year and you get that information to our registrar, we can communicate with EOU, and then EOU will tell that student you're accepted or you're enrolled and you have this type of scholarship or fee remission. So we have things that like just remove obstacles for first generation for sure, but students that want to go to EOU that might think, I can't do it, I'm not sure how to do this thing. We've made it really easy for them to get to EOU. We have Oregon Teacher Pathway, so we have a pathway program where our students can become teachers. Christian Mendoza is in that program. Eastern Promise, so you can get dual credit, high school credit, college credit courses. I think they now call it early college initiatives, but it used to be called Eastern Promise. So we have those types of classes. We have Go ASAP, which is Get Outside After School Activity Program that happens in our middle school, started by EOU and still supported by EOU. We share facilities, so we share football, we share soccer, we share baseball. We have academic things, art things, musical things, media things, social media things that EOU does for our valley, for our, not just our school district, but for others, and we get to experience those types of events. We have staff wellness that we do through EOU. So they do a lot of things with physical fitness, with podcasts, with nutrition, that we hire their staff to help do these things for us, and they do that. We have cultural awareness, culturally inclusive practices. We have a newsletter that comes from EOU. We have hired them to do that, so our staff get a monthly newsletter on culturally responsive practices, and then we get invited to that kind of professional development as well. We have practicums that are a normal thing for us, where our students, we can have student teachers We're probably one of the flagship locations where we get a lot of student teachers that we get to look at too, and we get to support, and we get to partner with for that. And I'll stop there, but just that tells you
Right.
that's a lot more,
Man.
or a lot of things that many people don't get, and our kids get to experience that.
Right.
You know, and our staff get to experience that collaboration and that partnership. But the biggest thing I love is that our kids get to see these things and experience these things, and we wouldn't have if EOU wasn't here.
Yeah. So, Kelly, I know Georgia's story which is exceptional.
It is.
Yeah. I want to know,
Yeah.
can you think of a time when you were in grade school or somewhere in that you maybe had an interaction with somebody from a university or a professor or something that kind of inspired you? That it was like, wow, yeah.
You know, I can think of several things, but, you know, sometimes you just got to give credit to your parents.
Yeah, right, yeah.
You know, I do remember when I was in high school, I would go to the musicals at University of Hawaii, Manoa, and then I was president of or vice president, I can't even remember. I think it was a little bit of your situation. President stepped down, Kelly had to step up. But I went to like a leadership seminar about environmental and sustainability practices. But the truth is my parents highly prioritized education. From a very young age, it was my expectation that I would go to a college, and they gave me a suitcase at graduation just to let me know that I was leaving home after high school. And then there are little moments, you know, pictures in your mind. My mom was a non-traditional college student. So in her late 40s, she went to UH Manoa to take classes to try and get her degree. And I remember her working all day at her job. And my father was an admiral in the military at this point, so he wasn't home much. He was in Asia quite a bit at this point. She would work all day. She was basically a single mother. And she would be studying in the living room couch after we had dinner, and after, at that point, step aerobics. That was big back then.
Step
too.
aerobics, okay.
Sweating to the oldies, or
Yeah.
what's his name? What's that guy's name? Richard Simmons.
That's right.
Yeah,
who I adore, actually.
Yeah.
I love that guy. But yeah, so I think what that did was it set up a role model. It showed not only the value of hard work, but someone who does that shows you that higher ed is an exceptional door opener, right? That
Yeah.
it's a life-changing experience. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, and along with the partnerships, a lot of those things that you've talked about happen because the EOU is in the same town as LeGrand School District. You know what I mean?
And I would say too, it's not like does take some will and some skill. Like it does take us having conversations
Right,
and then
right.
agreeing that we want to have a Mountie hub at the high school.
Right.
A lot of these things too are, you know, I personally wanted to see the highest levels of collaboration between a district and a university, and I wanted us both to thrive because of that relationship. So I have asked for lots of services, or I've asked for lots of partnerships, and they've also asked of us at times. And
Right.
to me, making things better, or making things happen, or us supporting each other is like, that's how it should be.
Right.
And we're lucky. I just say we're lucky that we have that level of relationship. I don't know of every school district, like I don't think Corvallis School District has that relationship with Oregon State University.
Right.
Probably not.
They don't.
We
So-
do have one question, and I'm just going to ask. I don't think you can answer it, but
Okay.
I'm going to ask just because we asked people.
Absolutely.
They want to know when the college will be building a baseball stadium.
You know what's funny is I met with the student athletes, I want to say 2 days ago at 7:30 in the morning, and that was their question as well. You know, it is.
It has to happen for that baseball team. I mean,
Yeah.
they got to feel like they're part of the university to thrive, I think.
Do you have our hotline number to donate at the bottom of the screen? Yeah, EOU.
Do you want your name on the new baseball team?
Right. So those of you so we have a lot of dog walkers at EOU, but most of them really kind keep their dog walking to the main campus. And one of the reasons why is because it is awfully soggy out there, where that baseball field would be laid. Yeah, so there are massive drainage issues, and so it was a project that went from a conception of we can put down some grass and tar, to oh gosh, this is a massive engineering project, and that price tag just meant it wasn't really a sustainable project at the moment. And given the way that higher education is funded in this state, and that a baseball complex is not something that will come from Oregon, we really do need community support to build a facility like that. We have some dollars. Angie Weisenflue, director of athletics, has squirreled away dollars impressively to make it so that this can happen. But it is not a project that EOU can do without community support. And so, I think as we step towards a capital campaign, that's clearly going to be one of the projects. But because of those drainage issues, it's not a matter of just slapping up a fence and some bleachers. And the city has some proposals for what we would need there as well that would also make it a little more costly. So finding ways to be in compliance, not make it a soggy mess, these are issues that really have to be worked out. Yeah. And I'm perfectly okay answering that. Thank you for being so polite.
I just didn't want to put you on.
Well,
I appreciate it.
Well,
I'm in far worse positions than that.
well, and to shortcut what you said is that, if somebody wanted to donate a chunk of money, their name maybe could be on the stadium.
Yeah. We could have one bleacher seat per individual, bricks, you name it. You let me know. We will work. Where's the camera? We will work with you. You let me know.
Your camera's right here.
Oh, here we go. Let me know. We're willing to work with you. EOU Foundation, Kelly Ryan, Office of the President.
So before we quit, I just want to brag. So I'm president of LeGrand Rotary. We're collaborating with LeGrand Main Street to have a cleanup day on April the 26th. Okay, that's the Saturday after Earth Day. Anyhow, I sent a text to Jesse Watson and to Coach Camp and said,
they got you covered.
I said, hey, can you guys, can you help us on this day? And an immediate text back saying, absolutely, And Jesse was like, well, we have something that day, but if you do it in the morning, I'll schedule our thing in the afternoon, and so.
And they help also remove snow from elderly driveways.
Right,
I mean, our soccer and football coaches, they are community driven.
Right.
So, and you knew that, which is why you reached out to them.
Right.
So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, but still, it's just that, that's the kind of investment that EOU students make in, this is a lot of those kids, this isn't their hometown, but they're making an investment in LeGrand, and it's because of those partnerships that you're talking about. Well, thank you guys. Anything else you want to say before we quit?
No, I'm just very thankful for Dr. Ryan and the EOU in our community, and that we get to all grow because of the university. I certainly wouldn't be here without Eastern Oregon University.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for inviting us, of course, and thank you to George for stepping up for what he thought would be a couple of months and is lasting now a little over a year.
Excellent. You might want to read the bylaws a little more carefully if you say you're going to be vice president, because it might be president-elect. All right. Hey, you want to guess out
Let's
here?
do it. On this day, February 27th, 1827, Mardi Gras is first celebrated in New Orleans. 1922, on this day, the U.S. Supreme Court unanimously upholds the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constituent. Why does it say constituent? That's not the right word.
That's not. It's the
Women's
Constitution.
right to vote. Yeah. Yeah. I get this off of a website and copy and paste it. And that's what I get for doing that. 1974, People magazine begins sales in America. 2012, WikiLeaks begins disclosing 5 million emails from the private intelligence company Staffer. 2019, the smallest baby ever to leave a hospital was born. This baby was born at 9.45 ounces and ended up leaving the hospital and living. That's very tiny, less than a pound. On this day, the #1 movie in America in 1985, Beverly Hills Cop. And the quote of the day comes from Tim Ferriss. The world is changed by your example, not by your opinion. One more time. The world is changed by your example, not by your opinion.
The world has a lot of opinions these days, doesn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Hey, thank you guys
Yep,
for being
appreciate
here.
you guys.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you all, and we'll see you soon.